I've come to the conclusion, y'all, that unfortunately, I'm probably going to die working. I don't see a time when I'm going to um, be just sitting around, able to just do nothing and just be a bum and, sip fruity drinks and all of that stuff. No, I am going to be working until I die. And I'll probably die looking at some sort of profit and loss report, or, maybe I'm going to die, at closing or something, or I'm going to die doing something that does not involve probably sitting on the beach, just doing nothing the rest of my days. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, man, this dude must have made some horrible financial decisions, but that is actually not the case. By the time that I am at normal retirement age, along with my wife, I would expect us to have several $1 million of net worth that's in investments. So I think that we're going to be all right from that standpoint in terms of having enough money to live on in retirement. And the main reason that I say that I'm probably going to die working is because I cannot see myself sitting around just doing nothing and not being productive in some sort of way. Now, I don't believe that I'm going to be working for some employer until I die. No, it's going to be working for myself, working, for either my wife's business or whatever the case may be. It's going to be something that's in-house. It ain't going to be for somebody else. But nevertheless, I'm probably going to be doing a lot of the same things that I would be doing as if I was an employee, because the only difference is going to be is that I'm doing it for myself. It feels different to me when I am doing a job for myself versus doing a job for your employer. Because when I'm doing a job for myself, and it could be the same job, same task, but I feel like I'm creating something when I'm doing it for myself versus, doing it for an employer. So that little bit of feeling makes all the difference for me. For example, I like the idea of buying a crappy property, fixing it up, and then renting it out and making a profit from that. Now, that profit may not be but $200 a month, and that's fine. But I like that idea of creating some cash out of nowhere. And in addition, I like the idea of watching wealth grow in the background while somebody's paying off that property for me and as the property appreciates. So I'm creating something. It's not just, doing the job itself. The job is creating something in addition. So that feeling is what, will make me want to continue doing some sort of work. And I'm probably going to be a landlord throughout my entire retirement. Now, I'm not going to be out there on top of a roof, nailing, with a hammer or anything like that, or, doing work at the house. But I will be someone who's probably going to be managing, some rental property, and it probably won't be any more than about 5 properties or so. Something that I can easily handle, but I definitely see myself doing that throughout my retirement. I also like the idea of buying a crappy house, fixing it up, and reselling it for a profit. Now, it's not that I like, just making houses look nice. No, I could really, care less about that. I guess you could say there's some amount of pride that you take in having a nice product that somebody wants to buy. So I'll take that back. But that's not the thrill that I get out of it. The thrill obviously is taking something and creating something different that you bring value and you get paid for bringing that value. And that part of the process is why I feel like I would continue to work. And I could definitely see myself flipping maybe 4 houses a year. Maybe as I get older, I might trim that down to just 2. But I could see myself doing that type of work on a small scale basis for a long time into retirement. Another thing that I could see myself doing with regard to real estate in retirement is lending money. That's not something that I currently do, but I can see myself in retirement getting into lending money to other real estate investors who want to either flip a property or use it for a rental property or whatever the case may be. but I could see myself taking money from, my, retirement portfolio and doing some alternative investing like, hard money lending or something like that. As I mentioned in a previous video, I rent out an RV for people to, take camping trips on and so forth. So I could see myself um, doing that a few times a year while in retirement because I kind of like the idea of, bringing value to someone who wants to go on a trip with their kids. Like for example, I rented it to a grandparent couple who were taking their, adopted granddaughter to a local little park. It was actually a park where I've taken my kids to when they were younger. So I thought that was pretty cool. But being able to bring that opportunity to them makes me feel good. And you can make, some quick money from that. And I've also rented it out where people have gone on trips across the United States in it. And, they might go on a 10-day trip, 11-day trip, and you can make, $2,000 from that, 10-day trip. So I like that idea. I get to make some money from it and, I bring value to someone. So these are definitely things that I could see myself doing a few times a year in retirement. So again, I'm not going to be sitting around just doing nothing. I'm probably going to be doing some sort of work. And there are non-monetary reasons for why I believe that I'm probably going to work until I die. And, one of those is mental sharpness. I do not want my brain to shut down and become slow, get foggy, because all I'm doing is sitting around and just consuming a bunch of garbage on TV, right? No, I want my mind to stay sharp by thinking about problem solving, critical thinking. And this way, I want to be coherent, one day when, my kids ever have kids to talk and play with my grandkids. I want to be coherent to talk to my kids as they get older and become adults. I want to be coherent to be able to talk to my wife, when we get older. So I want to keep my mind sharp, and that's one of the reasons that probably gonna work until I die. I also want protection from unhealthy habits. I believe that when you are active and doing things that are productive and positive, you stay away from some of the things that are non-productive, like consuming a bunch of trash TV. As I mentioned in a previous video where I talked about this time when I took off, a couple of years from work. And then the second year, I started, staying up all night, watching a bunch of crazy TV and sleeping all during the day and napping during the day. No, I don't want to develop, bad habits. Some people, when they have a bunch of free time, they might get into other things, they might start smoking more. They might start drinking more. I just don't want to have all this free time and just spend it on bad habits and unproductive habits. I also want to be able to keep my body in motion as long as possible because there's actually research that shows that people who have post-career jobs, so to speak, have less major diseases. They have less physical limitations, which contribute to them, being healthier and living longer. So that's what I want to do. And the only difference is going to be is that I'm working for myself versus going to a job every day. And lastly, it's a sense of satisfaction. I get a personal satisfaction not only out of creating an opportunity, creating income, and I also get a major satisfaction out of bringing value to other people. Like I mentioned earlier, like when you have somebody who wants something and you're able to create that something to fill that need and you can also generate money from that, man, that's a win-win. But I think it is overlooked, the satisfaction, the personal satisfaction that you can get from that. And I'm no different. When someone writes me a review and it's a 5-star review, like for example when I rent out the RV, that makes me feel good inside. When I help somebody, I can buy somebody's house at a huge discounted price. And that person, after dealing with me, still will write me a review that is glowing. And I use that review to show the next seller that I'm working with that, hey, this is the type of guy I am. This is what people say about me. So you get a lot of satisfaction out of, creating, win-win solutions with people. So that is something that I want to continue to go out and, bring value to people, but in the same time, get satisfaction from bringing that value to people. So there you have it. Those are my reasons for why I want to just continue to be productive and active, in retirement, up until it's time to punch in that ticket. So that's one thing I do know. I know that my day is coming. So, but I'm going to do my best to be a healthy, happy, productive person. And I'm not going to be sitting there working all the time, right? I am still going to be doing things like other hobbies, shooting guns and, going on travel with my wife. And if I happen to become a grandparent, which, I actually do wish, at some point that, my kids would, have some kids and I can be a grandparent, but not right now because they need to be able to take care of themselves. But in the future, I would love that so I can spoil them to death. And that would be something that, I spend a lot of time doing as well. So don't think that I'm just going to be sitting around here working like a slave the rest of my life. No, I'm going to be doing some fun stuff too. So that is all I have for you in this video. If you took something of value, please like, share with your friends and your family. Also, subscribe to my channel where I'm going to be dropping a video every week about money, life lessons, and things of that nature. So in the meantime, take care of yourself, be safe out here in these social media streets.